The Barkscrolls, a Chronicle of New Faery. The Enchanted Forest Experience. Tuesday, Blood Moon the 15th, 2019. Some people thought déjà vu were psychic glimpses. Lolly knew from her French studies that the word itself translated to already seen. In that sense, she supposed it was true. She had seen the kingdom of Pacifica, and specifically Meadow City, or Las Vegas as the humans termed it, many times before. Her sense of familiarity did not arise from the mundane world, though. It came from dreams long past. Dreams from the old kingdom of Pacifica, where, in stories long ago, she had been tied to this land. But that was before the freeze of long winter had plunged the world of Fae into deep hibernation. So many dreams forgotten as the tapestry frayed and unraveled. Did that include her connection here? The shadow of her silver dragon followed them far below on the terracotta earth. Returning here felt like walking through the bones of a dilapidated house, left to slowly mummify in the hot desert sun, with the Sierra Nevadas looking on from their barren mountain heights. Memories ghosted around in her mind of many good times down here, and she smiled to herself, thinking of an old friend, DJ Digital. He was impossible to ignore with his spiky red afro hair. He had always been true, and now she wondered if he had ever woken with the thaw and remembered himself, or if she was the only person who possibly remembered him anymore. A bell dinged overhead, and the captain informed them that they would soon be landing. Looking out the window eagerly, her excitement built. This was the new Kingdom of Pacifica, although she wasn't entirely sure what that meant. And Lolly was on her way to help her friend Penelope Pendragon the Wish Fairy. They had met a few years previously when Penelope had swept through the Kingdom of Storms with her wish wagon, and ever since there was a connection. "You better be ready," the Wish Fairy warned her as they swerved down a footpath in a green and purple Jeep. "I'm going to blow your socks off." Penelope was referring to the massive structure that rose before them, raised amidst frustratingly high winds the previous day. There sat the wish wagon in its usual spot, but this year it was surrounded by 12-foot-tall walls draped with beautifully painted tapestries. Sunset Park was the perfect place for Penelope's Enchanted Forest Experience, tucked under a few shady trees to avoid the blast of the sun. Just as other misfits and outcasts found their place under the big top, Lolly had kept the dream alive during the long winter by eking out a small corner of the Northwest Renaissance Fair circuit where she could manifest Fae Hollow. There had been several sparse years bordering on sterile as the glamour froze up, but she kept what tiny bit alive that she could, finding a home and place for the Fae within the local fairs and festivals of the Pacific Northwest. Whatever the princess had managed to do up north, though, Penelope Pendragon had done it times 100 here in the Southwest. The ladies were greeted by Posco Hamwich of Buckleberry Fern as they hopped out of his land dragon. He was one of Penelope's right-hand fairies, along with Atlas the Troll and Billy, aka Babs, the TaskRabbit. Lolly wasn't exactly sure what type of Fae Posco was, but he identified with Hufflepuff, managed to get an impossible amount of things done, and seemed very much like a brownie, but who knew for sure? Hugs and hellos were exchanged, the grand tour was given, and then began the mysterious work of manifesting the most enchanted place in the Las Vegas Ren Fair. Day faded into night, and more Fae filtered in as the yellow sun rose again. By the next morning, the Enchanted Forest Experience had grown to presentable completion. Lolly had traveled to assist Penelope before, but the Wish Fairy's magic had burst forth over the last year, and the results were brilliant. Outside the magical walls, Dryad Dan waved at human passers-by. Being taller than a Yuletide tree and covered in leaves and vines, even the most prosaic of humans couldn't help but notice him. Mesmerized by the impossibly tall tree man, they let their curiosity guide them toward the entrance. Atlas the troll stood sentry at the curtain of green vines, shaking his cup at those who had ventured across his bridge, collecting from them coin in toll. It was important that they did not accidentally set foot in the Swamp of Sadness, for then they would have black goo stuck to their shoe and wouldn't know what to do. Once they had made it across his bridge, Tansy the fairy and their resident Yildu helped them spin the wheels to determine their enchanted forest name before they continued down the path. The garden had sprouted giant flowers overnight, and 10-foot-tall mushrooms towered over the trail. Enormous leafy greens hung from a tree where Stormy the fairy taught the now enchanted humans how to make their very best wishes come true by making them present, positive, precise, and personal. Once they had that down, they wrote their wishes on their name scroll. Wandering on toward the white wall of wonder, Seamus the satyr clopped by on cloven hoof to greet the travelers. "Come," he invited them, impressive horns curling around his otherwise bare head. "Peer inside. What do you see?" At first, some of the humans, especially the younglings, were afraid, but Seamus would smile and introduce them to the dragon wrapped around his wrist, and all fear melted away. The White Mystery Wall was so named because it was slowly being sapped of its color by an evil witch roaming the enchanted woods. Safe inside, however, if travelers peered through the peeking holes, they could see a beautiful colony of Fae who were in protective hiding. Passing beyond the pale wall was where the travelers encountered the princess, sat upon a toadstool beneath a friendly willow tree. "Come." Lolly swept a hand before her, inviting the traveling parties in. "Please kneel and hold up your name cards that I might see." Unsure of what was about to happen next, yet irresistibly curious, the enchanted humans always did as they were bid. To her surprise, however, amidst the teeming lines of passing people, the curtain parted and in stepped Posco. A pink eyebrow arched. Quick to recover, she swept a hand before herself. He came forth and took a knee. "Welcome. I am Fairy Princess Lolly," she began, back straight with iridescent wings flared out to her sides. "I am here to grant thee thy official Enchanted Forest name and a magical ability." Raising her pink wand, she locked eyes into his, touching the crystal tip gently on his right shoulder. "With the power of Fairy, I hereby name thee Posco of Pacifica." A graceful hand arced over his head to touch the left shoulder and returned back upon the crown of his brow. Then, tipping a bottle of opalescent sparkles to her finger, she said, "And with a touch of fairy dust upon thy magical cheek, you now have the ability to all the enchanted creatures speak." Posco's eyes glistened as Princess Lolly bid him rise. "Now then," she said, so as to retain composure in the heartfelt moment, "onward toward the mermaids." With a wave of her wand, Posco Hamwich of Buckleberry Fern in the Kingdom of Pacifica parted the curtain of sea foam to encounter the Salt Lake Mermaids. Astonishingly, the next to enter was Kyle the masseuse, with a friend of his that he had brought that they might receive their names. They were followed by Samhain the busy bee and his friend whom Lolly named Sparkle Starry Sky, and then by Seamus the satyr himself. It was all so very unexpected, but if there had been any question about her connection to this land before, it was inexorably clear to her now that it still existed to some degree. Lolly wished that her court were here to see, that Gunther could meet another civilized troll, that Ion the leprechaun could hand out remembrance coins, that Lumina a wisp could help light the forest at night, and that Count Morbid could bespeak the doom, doom, doom of wandering into the Swamp of Sadness to wayward travelers. Laughter floated through from beyond the flotsam and jetsam, where the mermaids Rhapsody and Pinky, lounging upon their seashells, playing ball with their giant pearls and making the human adventurers swear a hilarious oath. "I promise," Mermaid Pinky's voice rang out, only to be echoed by the pirate standing before her. "I promise not to," again he repeated her words, "not to put this in my mouth." She rushed through the last part as she brandished a small, hard object in her fingers. They began again. "I promise not to sniff this." As it turned out, she was giving away tiny bits of petrified pixie poop to great amusement. Around the corner from the mermaids was the dragon lair. It held large swaths of naturally shed dragon skin stretched out on frames. Each one was from a different type of dragon, Terra for earth, Ember for fire, and so on. It was the last bit of color left as those on the path entered the white woods. Here, all color had finally been drained away and everything was pale as salt. Trees, leaves, foliage, and underbrush, all bleached of their vibrant hues. There was even a stark giraffe who pawed across dusty eggshell ground, bereft of all his spots. There was a faint tinkling on the breeze, and a pure white unicorn greeted them. "Hello, I'm Chimes. Welcome to the White Woods. An evil witch has cast a spell on us." She offered some dots of color to each wayfarer. "Would you be kind enough to help us recolor our forest before you leave?" Speck by speck, the white woods began to resume their color until there was no leaf left unturned, no red amanita without its spots. Emerging from the white woods, they came lastly upon Samhain the busy bee and his honeycomb bee box. Invited to seat themselves inside, surrounded by the excited buzz of bumbles everywhere, they had a pictogram snapped for remembrance. Stepping outside the Enchanted Forest Experience for the grand finale, and now brimming over with glamour energy, Penelope Pendragon invited the visitors up into her wish wagon to use their newly found wishing wisdom and deposit their wish scrolls that they had written with Stormy the Fairy. Now, these humans knew the magical meaning of the word wish. What is stated happens. Later, Penelope would gather her forest of Fae for a wish party, and they would read the wishes that had been put into the wagon. It was important that they be witnessed, important for them not to disappear into the forgetting. Princess Lolly even read 2 or 3 before she had to leave. Part of the magic of fairyland is that it appears, disappears, and reappears again and again. With a flurry of activity, vines, murals, and phoenix pods were unpinned, and the Enchanted Forest Experience, once there, was gone with a gust of heated desert wind.
Hello friends, this is Gone for Hammerhands. Thank you for checking out Fairy Princess Lolly's channel. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Use your troll hammer to ring that little bell icon to get notifications when she posts future videos. And if you'd like to support these magical creations, fly over to our Patreon and join the fairy family. Safe travels!